Good morning, everybody. Happy weekend. I thought I'd take you along on a cutting. I'm going to do some cuttings today in the garden of our tomato plants for somebody. I'm going to show you the process of doing cutting and kind of show you what's going on. I'm going to take probably some extra cuttings for us too, because it looks like we have some early blight or some white fly damage to some of the tomato plants. So firstly, if you're going to be trimming your tomato plants, all of the leaves and things that you trim off, you want to make sure that you throw in your garbage. You don't want to put them in your compost. You don't want to put them back in your garden at all, because if they have disease, that disease can carry through to your garden in the next season. So when you're doing any kind of trimming of your tomatoes, or if you have anything that's diseased that you're trimming of your plants, it's always best to just discard that in the trash. Secondly, always start with clean hands. Clean whatever tools you're using. I'm using just a clean knife. You can grab a towel with some rubbing alcohol, or you could, good morning Leanne, you could grab a face cloth with just like some Dawn dish detergent. And I actually have some Berkey spring water in here to dip my cuttings into. It's not necessary, but this is actually really helpful for rooting cuttings, is the Fertilome. And it's the rooting powder. I think it's about $5 at Walmart. It's a really big one, and somebody gifted me one, and so I actually just only put a little bit in this jar, and I keep a fresh jar that nothing's been dipped into. That way, if I was having any issues doing some root cuttings, I didn't waste a whole bunch of powder or contaminate a big jar of it. So I'll just put a little bit in here at a time, and if I need to, I'll wash it out in between and let it dry. So we've got some of that going. These are just little pots from the Dollar Tree, and what I use, tomatoes are really picky about what they like. They really need like a soilless medium, and if you're going to grab soil from your garden, it can already bring disease and stuff like that to your tomato plants, especially as little seedlings. So it's really a good idea, if you're not using brand new little pots, to wash your pots out with soap and water. Trust me, we've done this when we didn't wash out the pots and put soilless, fresh, clean medium in. It still caused a problem with some of our seedlings. So, clean pots or new pots. Soilless medium, which this is just peat moss and perlite. I've pre-wetted it a little bit, and then I have I'll show you the dish that I have out back. It's like a tray. I washed it out with soapy water just to make sure it was clean, and I'm going to fill it with water and bottom water our plants, because tomatoes don't like to get wet from above. It causes disease. They're so picky, but we love them. They're so delicious. So here we go. We're going to go show you what I'm up to. Flip you around. So we've got some tomato plants here. I already took some cuttings of my moneymaker. I'm looking for... This is a really good heirloom variety called Calypso. It does really good here. I have not seen a whole lot of disease, and it makes a really nice tomato. So I'm going to come in here and check out what I've got going. I'm hoping inside this little V elbow. So this is the leaf that brings the nutrients. This is what's going to make your fruit. So you don't want to pick off or cut off too many of those, but kind of every other one if you wanted to. That's your choice. Some people say it makes bigger fruit, but if I'm looking for one that's a little bit bigger that I can trim off. And I was hoping there was one on that plant. So, darn. I might have to check out back. These are Floridads. Floridades. This one's the Thornburn. This one, squirrel came in here and pulled him out. I planted him, but he looks like he's not doing good, so I might have to replace him. Okay, I thought I'd check this out better. That's a different one. Let's go out back. See if I can find one out back. Now I gotta bring all this out back. Okay, I only have 2 hands, y'all. Let's see. These are all Roman. These are oak leaves gathered. So let's see if we can find a Calypso out here. This one's Floridade, Calypso. These two are Calypso. Okay, so here we go. What's that one? That one's Calypso too. I did do some heavy trimming. That's gonna be one, but I don't know. Trying to find a really clear, good example. I could just trim this whole one. Okay. I'm not gonna worry about it. See how this is my main stem right here. If this leaf gets out of the way. Here's my main stem. This branched off and it's making tomatoes here. It's gonna make tomatoes here, and here's the leaf that feeds it. Here's another one that is gonna make tomatoes, and even though it's a little bit bigger, I'm gonna cut that one. So I cut it at an angle. I put it in my spring water, and then I've got my Fertilome, and I just kind of shake it around on the base. I don't get too crazy with it. And then my pre-moistened soil, I'm gonna just make a little hole, stick them in, and tuck them in, and then I'll put probably a little bit more. So I got a big pot over here. I mixed up this morning of just peat moss and stuff. Peat moss and perlite, that's it. And we're gonna bring him over here. So here's my tray that I've cleaned and put some water on, and we're just gonna let him get bottom watered. So I did all these earlier just before I popped on, but I figured I'd show you one for an example, and we'll see. It's probably better to pick off the tomatoes so it can focus on rooting. I know, it's heartbreaking. It's okay. But yeah, you kind of want to pick off any little tomato blossoms. I know it's hard, but it'll make more. It'll root really good. It'll take about a week or two in like a partial shady spot. You don't want these in full sun. They'll get wilted. They'll just struggle and they'll die. So this is my shadiest spot in my backyard. That's kind of cool. We'll just kind of check on them and make sure that they're moist enough and getting some bottom watering. And in about a week or two, they'll have roots all through the soil medium that you put there, and you'll be able to plant it out. And if you've got any problems with your tomato plants, like this one here is my sun gold, and can you tell how it's sunken in? It's sunken in, which means white flies have gotten to it and sucked out nutrients from the inside. So this will be hollow on the inside, and then this won't make any more healthy tomatoes. And so I'm actually going to have to pull this whole plant out and plant a different one. I've got some tomatoes that are ripening on it, so I'm going to let them ripen first. And I will have my seedlings started and a good jump in about a week or so to pull this plant out and just put a whole nother one in. Here's another one that's struggling. Not sure what's happening over here. Looks like early blight, and the whole thing just doesn't look healthy. We're probably gonna have to pull it out and put another one in. This one's looking pretty good. Here's another one. Really sad. It's my only Arkansas Traveler. Looks like the white flies got to this one as well, where it is sunken in and has the start of early blight. So I trimmed all the early blight off. Oh no, it's Juliet. So I don't know that. So like I was saying, you don't want to take cuttings from a plant that's got problems, because all of these are going to have problems. Any cutting you take from something like this is going to have a problem. So you can trim it to give it airflow and let the tomatoes ripen, and then it's probably just best to pull the whole plant up. That way you're not wasting any of your nutrients or anything that you're using to feed your tomato plants, whether it be organic or inorganic. You just don't want to waste all those resources on a plant that's sickly and not doing well. And yeah, do not take cuttings from something that looks like that. So, I think I've got another one over here. Got attacked by white flies. Basically, they'll come in the evening, and I should have put up my sticky traps. The yellow paper sticky traps, but and that kind of helps, but sometimes it just happens. So, we're going to have to probably just plant some new tomato plants from tomatoes that are doing a little bit healthier. So like our Calypso always does good. This one's been doing pretty good. It's my Floridate. I'm trying this one this year. It was bred in Florida, Texas, like the Florida A&M I think it was or something, or Florida Ag. So it's supposed to do really good in the heat. So we're going to try that one out. So far it's been doing pretty good. And we've got our Husky in here. This one looks like it got attacked by white flies. I think that one did too, so I might just have to replace a bunch of tomatoes plants in here. But this one is a hybrid and usually does really well. And I do have some tomatoes ripening on it, but I might have to just say I need to take some more cuttings of the ones that are doing well and replace them. And on a side note, we've got Goji Berries. Woohoo! Look at the little purple flowers. Got little Goji. He will ripen and turn red and be yummy. So excited. So, that's it for tips from the garden on tomatoes and doing some cuttings. And I hope that was helpful. And these are not tomatoes over here. If you were wondering as I was walking by, these are actually our potatoes. They're supposed to start looking like this. They're supposed to die off and look awful, and you want it to be really completely dead before you harvest them. So we're just waiting for them to finish putting all that energy into making potatoes before we harvest them, and we'll do a separate video on showing you guys kind of how much we got. We planted 2 potatoes per pot, and here's some more potatoes over here. We'll show you the harvest on that when we do that one as well. There's 2 more varieties, and yeah, so hope that was helpful on maybe identifying what might be going on with your tomato plants, what you should take cuttings from or shouldn't. And yeah, it's always a good idea to take some cuttings from your healthy tomato plants so that if you have some that are sick or dying, you can pull those out and replace them with some new plants that are doing well. You didn't spend any extra money trying to buy plants that aren't available, and you'll still get tomatoes later. So thanks for hanging out with me this morning in my crazy hair as I'm out here in the garden. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time.